All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Thanks as always for stopping by the channel again. Today I've got some good news, and I've got some bad news. Good news is you don't have to look at Chance Wilkins today. I'm going to be covering somebody else this time around. The bad news is instead, you're stuck with the pudgy predator, the diaper degenerate himself, Nova Online. Nova lost another job recently and he's been pretty upset about it. So I wanted to go back to one of the only accounts we have of a third party who isn't Nova talking about what he's like at work to see if we could get a little bit of insight into why this guy has so much trouble holding down a job. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Alright, this is the story of how I worked with Nova Online, aka Gabe. Okay, so my first interaction with Gabe was when I went to reapply to Denny's. I basically got my job back in no time. The GEM was too lazy to delete my information anyway. So I see him and he's got his hair tied back, big belly. First time I ever see him. Never heard of him online before.
All right, so before we let this guy get too much into the details of actually working with Nova, I just want to frame this a little bit. A lot of you guys have probably worked at places like this. I mean, not just at Denny's or food service specifically, but the type of place where it's like a casual enough hiring environment that if you worked there before, you can kind of just stroll in after a given amount of time. And if you were even decent the first time around, you could just be like, hey, you guys have a couple of hours, are you looking to fill any slots right now? And they'll just take you back, which to put it in the perspective of Nova being fired from this place just makes it like even more embarrassing because it's like if you're working at the type of place that's that kind of lax, like they don't have you filling out applications and doing background checks and doing a million steps like just to get yourself in the door. If they're that chill about just like, oh yeah, we'll take you back on, it means you had to have been like off the wall, really doing something wrong or really not doing anything at all to get yourself fired from that job in the first place. I also want to say I give this guy like a level of credibility that I don't give Nova right away. Because if you were to see Nova walking down the street, your first thought looking at him is like, what is going on with this guy? Like the hair, the glasses, even just like the posture and how he walks, like everything about him just screams like this is a very odd individual at the very least. And as soon as this guy starts talking, it's like, oh yeah, this dude could be your coworker. This is a very, for all appearances, this is a very normal person. So I almost already give them a little bit more credibility than Nova from the rip.
Before. And I work a couple shifts, and I realized that he's just a weird kid, and he would play weird brain rot TikTok music in the kitchen over everyone else's music. Um, he would consistently ask everyone, "Guess what?" And then you would say what, and he'd say, "These nuts."
So just to clarify for anybody who maybe doesn't know, Nova didn't work at Denny's 20 years ago when saying these nuts was like maybe borderline socially acceptable. This is probably like 2 years ago, I want to say, max, that he worked at this Denny's, just to give you a kind of an idea of how outdated that was. And then the other thing, and this set me off the first time I saw the video, I immediately was just like, oh, that's just like bad workplace etiquette. I have a taste in music that's it's not a weird taste in music, but it's definitely like not for everybody. Like not everybody likes metal. You know what I mean? Not everybody likes like classical jazz. Like I feel like you have to have kind of an idea when you're in a public space of like what is like generally acceptable to play here. And it's like you could get away with pop, you could get away with like most hip hop if it's kind of the type stuff that's on the radio, it's nothing too crazy. You can get away with like classic rock, 80s rock, maybe a little bit of 90s alternative, you know what I mean? But if you're the guy that's into like EDM, you can't just in the workplace be that's headphone music, you know what I mean? Like you can't just be playing it. Like you wouldn't sit down and just be like, "All right, you know what? I'm gonna play Knuckle Puck full volume. Like there's just certain things that are for your entire environment, and you're gonna assume that everybody you're working with is okay with it. And then there's other stuff that it's like you might need to crack the AirPods out because that's just for you. And Nova, one thing that he constantly exudes everywhere he goes and everything that he does is that he doesn't have like a social awareness like that kind of cringe that you get in your head when you're about to do something and you're like, oh, that might be a little awkward or embarrassing. Like whatever gene that is, he doesn't have it. Like it's not present in him. So it doesn't surprise me at all to know that he was working with mostly probably people like this guy, like just pretty standard, normal, real life, not chronically online people, and it didn't occur to him at all not to just be blaring TikTok music, at full volume out in the open for everyone he works with and probably customers to hear.
Pretty annoying. He was a prep cook, and in terms of his performance, it would be what you expect. Uh, he chose to hand slice every single tomato instead of using the slicer. He used wrong mixing containers to contain things.
So just to chime in on that for a second, both of those things that he just said are also they're just the most Nova things that you can think of because he's gone off a couple of times over the years about how his dream job would be to be a chef at like a nice restaurant. And he obviously thinks of himself as this like food connoisseur the way that he does his food reviews of lunchlies and stuff like that. Like he thinks highly of like his culinary opinion. So you know that in his mind he was hand slicing the tomatoes instead of using the slicer because he felt like that was more like professional chef of him, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm not going to use the slicer, like I need to do this by hand, like I'm the best at it. Like he's thinking of it that way. But because everything is performative to him and it's like he doesn't have any interest in actually going to culinary school, he probably just watched like The Bear or like movies with chefs in it, like that John Favreau movie Chef, and he's like more interested in like the short-term aesthetic of it than the actual like art of the craft because if a real professional chef would probably be so much less concerned about how you're slicing the tomatoes versus like if you were using the proper mixing containers like that's a serious thing that you have to worry about. Like in the state that I live in, you have to get food safety certified to even work in a restaurant, and it's like you have to learn what temperatures are going to be okay, and you have to learn in a freezer like what can't be stored next to what because it could make people sick, and it cracks me up that in his head, Nova thinks that he's like this Kitchen Nightmares top chef. Like he's Gordon Ramsay in his head. Where meanwhile, if Gordon Ramsay was doing an episode of Kitchen Nightmares and walked into the Denny's that Nova worked at, he would be the employee that was getting like screamed at by Gordon Ramsay on that episode for just not paying attention to anything that you're supposed to do with the food prep at all.
And never cleaned up his kitchen and put a lot of labor on the dishwasher. So the one time I wanted to deck this kid in the face was the day the water pipes broke. If you know me, you may know this story. Uh, and I've been working almost 10 hours at this point. And I'm trying to fix the mop room. I'm trying to clean it up. And this dude comes in here asking me to mop up a leaking water pipe. And I told him, bro, it's your workstation. It's your responsibility to clean this shit up. Like it's the cook's responsibility to sweep their line. Uh, it's the dishwasher's responsibility to sweep their fucking dish pit. It's a prep cook's responsibility to mop up the water coming from the sink.
So that's kind of where I was talking earlier about Nova's like complete lack of social awareness because if you think about it, it would be one thing if the store had had like a janitor, like someone whose job was specifically to clean. It would be one thing for if there was a leak for Nova to go get that guy and be like, "Oh, hey, like, you're the janitor. I have a leak over here." Me personally, I still kind of would feel like it's my workstation. It's going to be like less of a pain for me to just do it than to try to go find somebody else and have them clean up my area. But the fact that Nova would leave his workstation to go get the dishwasher, like, why would it be the dishwasher's job to clean up in your area? Like, at that point, why don't you just grab any waiter or why don't you grab the busboy or the host? Like, I don't see other than him not wanting to do it, I don't see the logic of why it would be the dishwasher's job to clean up at one of the cook stations. Like his mentality is just like, can I just get anybody around me to do something that I'm supposed to do? Because I just want to hand slice tomatoes all day and like that's it. Like that's the only thing I'm worried about.
Even if it's not your fault, you still gotta do it. And he just turns around, walks away, and says, "Thanks for the fucking help." Or he said it in this voice, "Thanks for the fucking help."
Dude's got a pretty solid Nova impression. It's probably better than mine. I also love that the last couple videos, he was like the last few cuts in this, he was pretty chill talking about Nova, and I had a little bit of respect for it because I was like, Nova's a really weird guy, and I know a lot of people that if they had worked a single day with Nova, they would have been talking crazy trash, like making fun of his appearance, making fun of the way he talks, like probably had a lot of really nasty stuff to say about Nova, which for the most part is pretty justified. But this guy was pretty fair from the beginning. Like he was kind of just like, yeah, I didn't really know who Nova was. He wasn't like the hardest worker in the world. So I love it. It almost makes it funnier that he was chill for the first couple of little commentaries that he did. That then when it cuts to this one, he's remembering this shit with the leak, and he's actually you can see him getting heated about it.
I just wanted to run up and punch the back of his head so bad, but I had to keep my job. I was running two jobs at that time, I think. Around that time, I think I had quit my other job. But yeah, that's my experience working with Nova. Uh, 1 out of 10 experience.
1 out of 10, man. Not Dr. Pepper, not Lunchley. Nova, giving Nova a rating at the end of it. That's incredible. Like this guy in post after working with him saw enough Nova content to make like a Nova Online related joke, and that's probably the worst thing you can say to Nova is calling him a 1 out of 10. That's awesome. So this video went kind of viral, at least within like the lolcow community. People shared it everywhere. A lot of the big commentary channels played it, and of course, it did make its way back around to Nova, who was not thrilled at all with the way that he was being described. So let's jump over to Nova for a minute and see what he had to say about the way that his coworker described him and his work ethic.
I'm trying to interact with the sub only chat on TikTok.
Jesus, let me bring that down a little bit because that's one thing with Nova is his volume leveling. Like whatever a normal volume is for anybody else, it's always 10 times that for him.
I don't really have an opinion on Garfield. Well, YouTube chat's more active right now, and TikTok chat's always toxic, so that's why I interact with YouTube a lot more.
See how immediately just I don't even know that guy's name on the other video, but just immediately like from the rip, the polar opposites of these two. That like the other guy just was giving off the most like standard dude normal energy. It was quiet in the room when he was talking. There wasn't a lot going on. It actually almost primed me to like immediately be super overstimulated going over here to somebody's recording of Nova's live because it's like the room is like you can't see much of it right now, but it's just a hoarder room. It's just filled to the brim. So there's like the whole bottom half of the camera. There's like no dead space. He's got like a t-shirt with a bunch of bowling pins on it with a bunch of like there's just like it's bright and it's loud. The music is like louder than it needs to be, so then he's instinctively raising his own voice to try to talk over it. He's got stuff all over the table. And then you got the top of it where it's just got like I don't use TikTok a lot. I had to make an account just to be able to see these videos to make this video. So I might sound like uneducated about this, but like he's got all these like plugins at the top, like all this like Streamlabs stuff going on, and it's just his video immediately is so overstimulating compared to the other guy just like quietly matter of factly telling you what's going on. It almost like primed me to be more irritated with Nova than usual because I was coming from something that was so much more low energy.
You know, Tiffany Stratton's my favorite wrestler. I think he was an actual coworker, but he's like he's lying about a lot of shit. First, I got your number 2. How many sales have I had this month? Quite a few actually.
All right, so I'm calling BS on that right away. Right away. And I'm bringing the volume down a little bit more because when I watch this back, I'm 100% sure it's still going to have been too loud. Um, there is no way, like, I don't know. I've had a couple of jobs over the last couple of years. I might not be able to recall like the first and last name of everybody that I've worked with, and I've worked in places that had pretty big staffs. But if you showed me a photo of somebody's face, like when you work with somebody, even if you only work at a place for a couple of weeks, you work with that person every day. You see them every day. You have to collaborate with them on stuff every single day. You either did work with this guy or you didn't work with this guy. There's no way you saw this video of him talking and knowing all this stuff about you and you like can't recall, you know, if you had actually if he was a real coworker or if he wasn't. Like I'm 100% sure he probably saw that video and was crossing his fingers like, "Oh, I hope this is a troll. I hope this is a troll." And as soon as it opened up and he saw that guy's face, you know he was just like, "Ah, shit," because it was somebody that he actually worked with. So I don't believe at all that Nova like isn't sure if he worked with this guy or not.
I've had 55 orders overall since I've started eBay on April 1st. And before then, I think I'm in the triple digits in sales.
Just a little PSA to anybody who's buying Nova Cord. I literally hold you guys up with the people who walk around with Josh Block and stop him from getting beat up. Do not enable the cows. Like I don't care if it was $5. If you put $5 in Nova Online's pocket so that he can sit here doing these loud ass overstimulating live streams and making Nova cords instead of going out and getting a real job, that just don't do that. Do not help these people out with this stuff. Like Josh Block would not be able to get away with any of the stuff that he gets away with. He probably doesn't even know how to book a plane ticket on its own, so there's no way he could travel without these people that are like hangers on for him. And like it's a much lower scale for Nova, but still it's just like just don't do it. Like just don't give him any money. Do not contribute to the like you don't know what he's going to do with that money, man. Like with the stuff that he's going to be buying diapers and you don't want to contribute to the livelihood of Nova Online. Absolutely not.
My gender is half male, half female. Although I feel like I'm more on the feminine side, but I still have a touch within my male side.
All right. So that's Nova's brief little response to finding out about the coworker video. And then a little bit after that, the coworker made one more appearance to give us a little bit more insight because he was kind of vague the first time around into what exactly it was like on a day-to-day basis working with Nova.
Y'all really blew it out of the water with that one. I thought at most I'd get like 3,000 likes, but Okay, but I have to make a part two, and this is part two. There is one thing I have to address. I still know people that work at that Denny's, and I heard about the death threats. I'm not defending Gabe, but Gabe does not work at that Denny's anymore, so there is no need to call my old job. Thank you.
Just before he gets into the actual stuff, if you're one of those people that's like, I understand the, what's the word I'm looking for here? I understand the temptation to want to participate in messing with the lolcows. Like, when you watch videos where, somebody like William Glory Hole or Music Biz Marty gets that reaction out of Cyrax where he's like calling their account out by name and like screaming and flipping out, like that's really funny. And I understand like I guess the temptation to be like, oh, it would be so funny if like I could get that person to have a reaction like that. These people who do this like almost professionally, they put a lot of time into it, and the ones that are like liked by the internet are the ones who do it in a way that's smart and really only bothers the lolcow himself. That's why when, Big T or Low T decided to do what he did with Cyrax recently, he didn't get like held up and praised for it. He's a lolcow himself now. Like he got made fun of for it, he got trashed for it. Nobody likes that dude just because he did that. Like just being the enemy of the lolcows does not make you, automatically liked by the internet. So like there's a lot of people, even if Nova did still work at the Denny's, there's a lot of people who work at the Denny's. There's a business owner that works at the Denny's. Like it's its whole own little ecosystem, and it's like if you want to try to mess with Nova, like mess with Nova, but leave those people alone. Like all of those people are just trying to go to work and like make a decent living, and there's really no reason for you to interrupt and bother their day just because they had the misfortune of being in the proximity of Nova. They're already dealing with BS because they're near Nova all the time.
Alright, so me and my best friend and roommate have worked at Denny's with Gabe, and this is everything that me and him have compiled together, and I'm just gonna show it in one video. Alright, first off, when I first met him, I didn't know he had an online following. I didn't know he had an online presence at all. I just thought he was just some random autistic kid that I just happened to be working with. After I got my job back, my roommate sent me a screenshot of his TikTok, and I was like, oh, okay. He's just live streaming on TikTok or something. I didn't think he'd have a big following like that. I was very wrong.
That's got to be the strangest like thing to discover about somebody that you work with, because as much as like Nova is very much a unique creature, to put it uh I guess nicely, we've all probably worked with somebody like Nova. Like when you hear the stories that this guy tells about him, like we've all worked with somebody that's just kind of really odd, you know what I mean? Like especially if you've worked in a lot of entry level jobs, like if you've worked in retail or if you've worked in food service, like you've definitely worked with a lot of people that like it's their first job out of high school, they don't really know how to carry themselves yet, and like I don't know. I could probably list off like five Novas that I've worked with. None of them are like have like committed the crimes that he has, but just people who like the D's nuts type stuff, like dressed really weird, maybe didn't keep up with their hygiene, like were just like very openly talked about their niche interests. Like we've all worked with a couple of Novas like that before, but it would have absolutely like floored me if I ever found out at some point, not even about like the bad shit that Nova's done, but if I ever found out that one of those people not only had like a massive amount of people who followed them online, but also that like they were part of this broader community where like hundreds of commentary channels, all of which have like thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers, like they're the subject of those people's commentary, that would have blown me away to find out that there were people who like literally were making a living and at least making a good chunk of change just making videos about my weird coworker, you know? Like that's got to be like super surreal.
to say the least. Now, before I did find out about his big online persona, I'm pretty sure he got recognized on shift. Now that I connected the dots, I was deep in the dish pit, getting slammed, grand slammed, Denny's.
Nice.
So I'm in the dish pit. I see Gabe come from front of house, and I hear some dudes laughing, and then I hear our sweet old grandma waitress, Miss Lisa, come in and soothe Gabe and stuff because she was just a nice lady, nice to everyone. But I'm pretty sure he got recognized. Number three, this was not confirmed by myself, but there are suspicions that he wore diapers to work. He also asked us guy coworkers if we wanted to work out with him.
All right, on those last two, and especially because this guy seems like he's been pretty upfront about like what he actually firsthand knows about Nova. As far as the diaper thing goes, I don't know that I believe that 100%. He already said that it was somebody else who worked there that told him that Nova had this online presence, and I think it probably did get around the workplace that Nova, you know, was who he is online, and I'm sure somebody watched like one of Kiwi's videos or one of Smokey's videos or just one of the big channels. Like somebody must have seen somebody do like a Nova breakdown and heard about the diapers. And then you know how it is like in a workplace, like it's almost like being in school where it's like everybody starts gossiping with each other and it whispers down the lane of like, oh, I hear he wears diapers and oh, I think I saw a little bit of a diaper sticking out here. Like, don't get me wrong, Nova's a weird guy, so it could be true. But I just don't think it's probably he seemed like he was really embarrassed when the diaper stuff came out, and it seemed like he was very private about that online. Like he did his best to like keep it away from his broader, more well-known online presence, and he was not happy when it started getting talked about publicly. So I don't think he's Andy Ditch level where he would be like straight up walking around in a public place in a diaper. That one to me doesn't sound super realistic. I think that's probably more of a rumor. But to totally flip to the opposite side and just asking guys if they want to work out with him, 1000% seems like something that Nova could do. I absolutely. He wanted to recruit some of these guys to be in his gym videos with him.
When I don't think he had a gym membership yet. I think he was like thinking about working out. This may have been the time he started posting himself in the gym. All right. He clocked out for being brought from the prep station to the line. This is a story from my roommate. So one evening, it's just my roommate and the night shift manager, and a whole bunch of people come in, and it's just the night shift manager and my roommate in the kitchen. So the night shift manager just says fuck it and puts Nova on the line. But Nova was like, I'm not doing this shit, and just clocked out, which is probably the smartest thing I've seen him do ever.
I gotta say, I have how do I put this? There was a job that I had where I was bartending, but it was a small restaurant, so the bartender was also like I don't want to say in charge of the waiters and the waitresses, but like it was your job to manage who worked where. Like you kind of had to organize the restaurant when you were bartending because it was kind of a small place. They weren't going to like pay a manager to be there all night long, you know what I mean? So that was a thing that always drove me nuts was that some people just had it in their heads that like this little section with the corner booth and the six tables was like their section, and if they came in on their day off or something to like pick up a shift and then somebody else was working in that section, they would throw like a whole fit about it. And yeah, I had people like take their aprons off and they would like storm out and be like, no, that's my section. If I'm not working there, I'm not working at all. And that always just seems so petulant to me because it's just like you're either working or you're not, you know, like especially if you're picking up a shift on like your day off, or if somebody called out and they need the extra help, or it's late night and you're trying to close down, like I don't know, man, as long as nobody's asking you to do anything crazy, like if it's reasonably one of the jobs of the place that you're working at, like just do it. If you're normally the dishwasher and they want you to go, you know, prep cook, go prep cook. If you're normally a waiter and they want you to go like bus table, well, maybe not that one just because of like the tip breakdown. That's a little bit too in the weeds. But like if you're working like an hourly wage job and they just want you to go work somewhere else in the restaurant, like just go do what they want you to do. But that's the most Nova thing in the world, isn't it? Is that like to him, his little cook thing, like he got to pretend like he was a chef all day, and it's like, no, well, if they're asking me to move somewhere else, then I don't get to do exactly just what Nova wants to do the whole time. So at like for him to just go home because of that, it's ridiculous, but it's always like 100% par for the course for somebody like him.
Yo mama jokes. Always asked yo mama jokes. This kind of coincided with these nuts. But he was always hit back with better yo mama jokes than his, always. Our GM at the time, who hired him, gave him a D's Nuts sweater and the Secret Santa, which I'm pretty sure she rigged. And lastly, he claimed he was watching his calories whilst ordering a slam burger after every shift.
I love this guy. He came with the receipts. He felt the need to pull up the calorie count for the thing that Nova was eating. That's incredible. This is 100% better. We should all ignore Nova and we should all go follow this guy instead. This is incredible. This is like how people love Joe Ditch. Like people hate Andy Ditch, but Joe Ditch is just so like chill and low energy, and everything he says is like pretty reasonable. So people are always like, "Oh yeah, Joe, like he's the superior Ditch." This is Nova's Joe Ditch here. Like this is just 100% better content. I also got to say, I got on Cyrax about this a couple of days ago when he was announcing his record label, but like not actually doing anything. All of the lolcows do what Michael Scott did in that episode of The Office, where he like just walks out into like the main area of the office and he just yells, "I declare bankruptcy," and like everybody looks around like it's funny because it's like, yeah, no, like you don't just declare it. Like there's all this paperwork that you have to do. There's like a whole process. You can't just walk out and yell it, you know? And that's what the lolcows do is like, does Nova actually have to like eat less food or exercise or eat food that has like a better content of like what he's eating? No, he doesn't have to do any of that. He can just like casually mention to his coworkers as he walks past them, "I'm watching my calories." Just like, you know, Cyrax doesn't actually have to change up like what he's doing day to day. He doesn't actually have to start making real music. He can just say, "I am the proud owner of a record label now," you know? Like they can just declare stuff. So that's gonna wrap this one up for today. That's the Nova Coworker arc. He's been back online nonstop, complaining about job withdrawal, threatening to make an OnlyFans, trying to, I guess, string together whatever amount of cash he can with the Nova Cord, which once again, guys, don't help him with that. So that's going to be our coverage of Gabriel Gage Nova Online today. If you guys like the video, please like and subscribe. I will put a link to this coworker's TikTok in the description in case you guys want to go check out any of this content for yourself. And at that, until next time, see you guys soon.